Howl number 5.
Number 5, baby.
Number 5. All right, man. This is fun. 5 months of this? This is awesome.
It's funny because you say 5 months and 5 episodes. It doesn't sound like a lot, but we're doing once a month.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
It literally takes us hours.
I know.
To get going.
Part of me is like, we should aim to eventually do this every week. But I kind of like that just one single episode is packed with so much news and concepts and stuff that we saw. Like we're trying to make these very dense,
Yeah, it's a lot.
Nutritious for the horror fans. So, yeah.
One and done. There's a lot, and we cut out a lot of news too. There's so much that goes on. If we did these weekly, that'd be a different story. And maybe we could get to that point where we have assistants and shit. They set up all the shit for us. We're not sitting here for hours doing lighting.
Give it time.
Yeah, but you look great though.
Thanks, dude. Thanks. I'll take it. So, not a lot came out this month, but we're looking at an incredible month for horror. Maxine, Longlegs, and Quiet Place, which is out.
Yep.
Which I have not seen, but you've seen.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
What did you think?
I liked it better than 2.
Okay.
I think. I'd have to go back and watch 2 to really make that statement stick.
Okay.
But I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine, and you'll hear me say fine a lot. I didn't not like it.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was a lot of potential to it. We're from New York, so for me, I really like the setting of being in New York. I feel like the tagline they've been putting or kind of showcasing is that New York is one of the loudest places in the world. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of shit that goes down. I like the setting. And I wish you had seen it so we can talk more about it because I don't want to spoil it for you. I think it's definitely worth watching. There's just little shit that bothered me, which I'll always say, but just it could have been. I feel like it could have been actually really good, and I feel like they just missed the mark on a lot. And there's stuff I'd love to get into, but it's gonna spoil kind of the theme, so I want to avoid it. But there is one thing that I will talk about that annoyed me. There's a cat,
right?
And I know you love cats.
Yeah.
I don't mind cats.
Okay.
But there's a cat that's pretty much a main character.
I heard somebody said that this movie is Save the Cat, the movie.
Yeah. It's like Garfield.
Okay.
It might as well be. It was just there was just stuff that really bothered me where it's no one would do that. Or you write in parts about it where it's okay, that would make sense that they would literally risk their lives for this cat.
Lupita Nyong'o just loves her cat.
Yeah. It goes beyond her. She makes sense because it's her cat.
Okay. But other people start risking life and limb for a cat.
Yeah.
All right.
Strangers.
Okay. Yeah.
For a fucking cat.
Hey, New Yorkers though, man. New Yorkers.
He's not from New York.
Oh, the stranger.
Yeah.
Okay. That would bother me too.
So,
well, I mean, it sounds like there's finally a horror movie that is fully utilizing New York. And I felt like there was a big missed opportunity for the last Scream. And I feel like this movie is perfect for New York. So I'm psyched to see it.
It's good. And actually, now that you say that, I wish there were more scenes, things in the subways. Not that to be riding in the subway, because when shit goes down, it's everything just
it all shuts down.
Right. As we kind of assume with any catastrophe that would happen in New York City. But yeah, I wish there was more. I guess now that you say it that way, I wish there was more New York in it, even though the entire thing takes place in New York. But I think they did an okay job. I like I said, I think it was fine.
Yeah,
it definitely wasn't fuck, that movie sucked. It wasn't at all. I think
that's good.
I thought it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, as much as we love movies that take place in New York, it's not easy to film here.
Yeah.
To shoot in Central Park is a nightmare. Really expensive. You need all sorts of permits and stuff like that. And it's why people take basically establishing shots in New York and then they go shoot in Toronto or Atlanta or something like that.
And that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of scenes and I'm assuming they're real, not CG, cars flipped over, really environment. I thought they actually did a really good job, filming and shooting. Where you look this is literally fucking post 9/11 shit. It looks really that kind of stuff I really like. And to be sensitive on that topic, I thought they did a really good job in that sense of just walking around and feeling like you are, it's just desolate kind of New York. And
it feels like it spiritually echoes 9/11 for a lot of people.
There's definitely some parts that remind you of it. And again, without spoiling, and there's probably a lot more stuff in the trailers than I'm thinking of. But
my mom loved the first 2 movies and she's I don't know if I want to see this one because it's New York. It's too close to home. And I think it's kind of because I was here during 9/11, but Yeah, I feel like that this is definitely giving people some flashbacks in a kind of a respectful way.
Yep.
Though. But yeah, I'm psyched to see it. Definitely curious to see it.
It's worth it. It's definitely worth seeing.
Cool. Saw the Exorcism, which I really thought that should have been a meta sequel to the Pope's Exorcist. I don't know why they didn't do that, because it's Russell Crowe playing a priest in a movie where it needs to do an exorcism. Why wouldn't they have done that? I don't know.
That would have been really cool.
Would have been really cool. You know, it's just kind of bizarre setup. The movie itself, I thought had so much promise.
Same.
But it completely fell apart at the end. There was about 8 things I pointed out, like, that makes no sense, that doesn't connect, and this... There were just enormous, just gaping plot holes.
Yes.
It's worth seeing. It's entertaining if there's nothing else to watch.
Well, it's funny because I know we joked about it a couple episodes ago, and I can't remember if at the time I knew he was playing the actor. I know we joked about him playing The Exorcist, but I couldn't remember. I can't remember if I knew at the time that he... I can't remember if I knew at the time that he was playing an actor.
Right.
Once I saw the trailer, I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. Like, playing a role. And they basically, without saying it, they're basically saying that they're shooting a remake of The Exorcist. Because they're doing it in Georgetown. There's all these things that are basically showing that, like, this is supposed to be an Exorcist remake.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and that it's a classic.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it's pretty obvious. But... You know, so I was kind of in on that. And I was like, that's a pretty interesting premise. Like, you're going to go in, and we hear about these haunted film sets and things like that.
Yeah.
We talked in the last episode about things that happened on The Exorcist. We've heard a lot about these things that happened on The Omen. That's a cool premise because these things have, quote unquote, happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of like fell apart. I thought it started really interesting. I like that Russell Crowe plays this recovering alcoholic, getting his daughter back. She's calling him by his first name. Like, clearly he did some really fucked up shit. And he struggles with that. But I don't care about spoiling. With that 180 just happens
Spoiler alert.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
It happens really quickly and it goes off the deep end like really fast. And I'm okay with that if you get to the point. It just, to your point, there was a lot of holes. It just didn't seem like it was tight. And I don't know. She wanted to, yeah.
There's that end sequence where they do perform an exorcism. And they're on set, and first of all, the movie has disbanded at this point, and then they're all on set, and the set lighting is the way it is, like the shot is set up, and the lights are on, even though the set has been disbanded for like days. And they're in the middle of this exorcism, and I, for a second, was like, "Oh, I know what's going to happen. The director is going to they're going to do this exorcism. The director's going to yell cut, and then there is going to be this meta element that they're shooting an exorcism movie, and he just went super method." But that did not happen, and then I was like, "This just makes no sense."
That didn't even cross my mind. I think that's a really fucking.
That would have saved the
you
movie.
Wrote the fucking movie.
It's just what I'm saying, man.
No, really, that's a cool. That didn't even cross. I didn't know where they were going to go with it, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, love the concept. There was a lot to work with, and it's worthwhile to watch. You know, it's not incredible, but it takes a real nosedive at the end, which is unfortunate. Yeah,
when she came in and started performing that exorcism, it was just like, what are you doing? Like, it just didn't, you know.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense.
There wasn't a point of, I guess, the character development where she ascended into this, like, okay, she's gonna take on this role of like being the exorcist. It's like
that wasn't earned.
Earned. That's probably a really good way to put it.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. But they're doing a sequel to the Pope's Exorcist. I think they're trying to trilogize that.
I think so.
Yeah,
that's fine. It's fun.
What else did you see?
Exhuma.
Yeah, let's talk about Exhuma.
You saw it, right?
Yes, I did.
Fuck yeah. Exhuma. I've been saying it now. It's probably, I can't decide if I want it to be right up there with Late Night with the Devil for my favorite of 2024.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this movie. I'd seen some things about it, put it on one night and actually like, you know, I really like movies with subtitles. It forces me to like focus on
really
it because I like to, I'm the type that, and I think we talked about this before, I like to watch a film and just like lock in. Like there are certain movies I don't want to miss literally a piece of dialogue. When you're watching foreign films and subtitles, it forces you have to pay attention. And this movie from beginning to end was really cool. It was very different. again, your knowledge is more extensive than I am, so maybe there are some other things, but I've never seen a movie like this where they brought in basically, a crew. And I love that it was 2 shamans, a geomancer, the funeral director, and they all had really pivotal roles throughout. And I don't know. I think I told you this the other day. I watched it a second time, and I feel like it wasn't as fun the first time.
Okay.
But that ride the first time was just like, where is this going? Like the entire time, I was really wondering. Like it wasn't a movie that you easily piece together until it really starts to unravel and you start understanding, because it constantly keeps progressing. Mm-hmm. That's what I really, really liked about it, and the characters really drove that movie for me.
Yeah, it was special. There was so much happening, but it doesn't seem digressive and all over the place. You just get so much kind of content and storytelling, and it's long. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. But it's so interesting and fascinating. It's just sides of supernatural stories we haven't seen before. Like, I never knew what a geomancer was. Mm-hmm. Can you explain that? Because I can't.
It seems like he deals with so I know what like a necromancer is.
Yeah, necromancer.
So I took that as a geo. So like instead of being a necromancer where you're dealing with like reviving the dead, he's dealing with like the earth. So he's selling plots. He's selling like the best plots in the in the world to business people and all this to do that part. But it seems like he has a really good connection with the earth, the earth itself.
Okay.
That's kind of how I took his role. And that's what was really cool was that you have the 2 shamans who go in and to the Korean family, knowing that they have mad money, and they're like, and it's not even, it didn't seem like they were trying to take advantage of them. They were just like, if we're going to do this, we need to hire like experts.
Yeah.
And they took that money. They went to go get the geomancer, and they went to go get the funeral director. Everyone is tied in really like
very thorough.
Everyone has their role. I thought that was really cool. And it was a long movie, but they went really fast. Like, they didn't spend a lot of time explaining a lot of shit as they were going through. That first exhumation where they do the ritual, if you remember, she talks about, because they were talking about they're going to move the grave from one plot to another and try to move the spirits or whatever into like the pigs.
Yeah.
They didn't like, I felt like if I was watching any other movie, and I don't want to say like an American movie, but I feel like if I was watching like an American movie, they'd be having this whole dialogue, sitting there talking about it, and then they go to the site, and then they're ramping up. Like, no, she explained it, and as she's talking, they cut to her walking to the scene.
Yeah.
And like it just starts, and it goes right in. They didn't waste any time with a lot of this stuff, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, yeah. And there were so many scenes, like all the ritual scenes were fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I learned so much cultural stuff, and I started looking stuff up after, and there's all this history about Japan and Korea in there.
Yep.
Shudder is incredible at finding movies from overseas and then bringing them to America.
Slapping their logo on it.
Well, I mean, that's part of it. Yeah. But no, they're really, really good at curating stuff from around the world. I loved this. Yeah. It was so cool and so interesting and intricate. And even though it's long, it kind of feels like 2 movies, but not in a way that it's like so digressive, but like you get enough storytelling in one movie for 2 movies. Yep. So yeah, highly recommended. Really unique, really interesting. I'd never seen anything like it. Really. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the way they wove in American culture, Korean culture, Japanese culture, all the languages. There's 3 languages throughout the movie that keep coming up. I thought, there was so much. And that ritual scene, like the sound design, like I watched and I was just like waiting to see what was going to happen, because like, I didn't know if they were going to summon something there. I didn't know what was going to happen. And they did such a good job with like not the necromancer,
geomancer,
the shaman, the girl.
Yes.
And she's got the fucking knife and she like cuts her face, like just like little things that just, she's doing a whole thing. And like, you got the guy on the drums and he's getting everyone like hyped up. Like this is all, and I really appreciated, you get to see their respect, their culture for the afterlife.
Yeah.
And how respectful they are of their graves. The little things that they talk about, like, on a rainy night, the spirit can't go up to heaven or to wherever they believe in. But like those kinds of things, I thought that was like, there's just really, really interesting, cool things that we don't really, focus on here, that I thought was like awesome.
I mean, this will transition us into another movie, Satan's Slaves Communion, which is not a new movie, but I just recently saw it and you just recently saw it too. But what I notice with a lot of horror out of Asia is I've been to Indonesia, and there's been a bunch of fantastic Indonesian horror movies, and I'm going to do a quick list at some point. But I noticed specifically with Indonesian horror movies, they jump right into the horror without feeling the need to explain too much and without feeling the need to get the audience to believe in the supernatural. In other words, like The Conjuring and all these other great ghost stories from America, like the first third or 2/3 is spent trying to lull the audience into believing. And then they throw in the skeptic character who's got to poke holes in the mythology so that the viewer in America will believe it a little more. In a lot of horror in Asia, it's the beliefs in ghosts and demons and the occult it's not questioned. It's just, in a lot of cultures, it's just believed. It's self-evident. So they don't have to waste all this time in the beginning trying to get you to believe, because it's like they already believe.
It's already
a
done.
lot of cultures already do believe.
Yeah.
In Indonesia, they'll talk about angels and demons in just common conversation, as if it's real, because, depending on what you believe. But they could just go right into it with a lot of horror. Yeah.
You just accept it for what it is. And especially, I'm assuming when they're writing these films, they're not planning to bring it to the US that they feel like they need to, no, that's for their people. Like they write it. There's no question about it.
No.
You just go in and it's like, it is what it is.
And it's liberating in a weird way, because they're able to do so much more. There's just layers and layers of storytelling and demonology and ghost stories and all these little rituals with the dead. It makes it just so much more richly textured. And I feel like with American supernatural movies, we waste half of the movie trying to convince the audience to believe. And there's something liberating about not having to do that. And a lot of these horror movies out of Indonesia and Korea, they don't bother with trying to get you to believe, because it's like and I was still believing. I still bought it. I feel like American movies can probably take a note from these movies and go, we don't have to waste all this time getting you to believe necessarily. We can just jump into it.
Well, it's the character that's like, experiences something supernatural in the room, and then they don't tell their significant other that some shit just happened, and you're like going the whole movie like, why didn't you just fucking say something from the start? You know what I mean? Oh, because there is the skeptic, right? Like there has to be someone that's not going to believe them. To your point, that's a really good observation, is that they just go right in. You don't have to you don't need the skeptic to try to prove them wrong. You might have one person that just maybe for a second doesn't want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some of that early in the movie, because they talk about their mom in the past and things like that. But then they're also like, well, we don't talk about it anymore, and they just fucking move on, which I thought was really cool, because this shows that there's history there, and we can talk more about the movie in a second. But
are we talking Satan's Slaves or Exhuma right now?
Satan Slaves.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So Satan's Slaves Communion, I think, came out a few years ago. I didn't get around to seeing it until now. Really loved this movie. It's really intricate. There's, similar to Exhuma, there's just so much layered storytelling, and you don't waste any time. You just jump right into the supernatural stuff, and there is a terrifying scene after scene, and the mood and the style of it, it's beautifully shot. It's kind of somewhere between The Conjuring and Evil Dead Rise in a way, because it's all an apartment building, but there's like all these really terrifying ghost stories, and they have to deal with a bunch of dead bodies, and the way that they ritualistically, respectfully deal with the dead is fascinating, because there's all this other stuff about Indonesian culture that you get to learn about. But these movies are so intricate and interesting, because they're just unique, and you're learning about these other cultures through the lens of horror, through a language that we understand. And I loved this movie. And you don't need to have seen the first one. You don't need to have seen Satan's Slaves, although it's great. I recommend it, but highly recommend this. I'm a big fan of Indonesian horror. Joko Anwar did this one. Timo Jahanto is another awesome Indonesian director. He did May the Devil Take You, May the Devil Take You 2. He's done a couple like hard action movies too, but Indonesian horror is there's something special about it.
I can't recall if I've ever seen. I'm sure I have, maybe without realizing or remembering, but a lot of Indonesian horror. And this one really did it for me. It was cool. And to go back to your point about the Evil Dead, something I've learned in watching Evil Dead Rise was I really enjoy films that are in an apartment complex, or really one setting. Yeah. Where there's not a big open world, and there's something about an apartment complex. It's different from the suburban rich neighborhood, where it's like something goes wrong versus like, no, like these are people like clearly like they talk about how they've built this building on land that should be really rich and should be for business. And,
Right.
But they're all clearly like, I don't want to call them poor, but like probably on the lower income side. Right.
Right.
And there's just something about that. And I think like I've grown up in apartment buildings. There's something very like this isolated moment, like especially you can't leave. Evil Dead, it's in one apartment one apartment. Versus this is in a building. I love that they're going through a concept, but they can't go anywhere because of the storm. It's a really, really smart way to keep them stuck in one area, and appreciate so much that like I didn't even know like they're all Muslim, and the way they shroud their bodies, they have their rituals, and there's just so many cool scenes. I mean, when the kid's going and helping the other guy like check the rooms of all the bodies, like just to make sure people are okay, and like mad people have died. That's not even talking about the elevator fucking scene.
The elevator scene is insane. We're not going to ruin it for anyone.
It was, without going into
it. But there's an elevator scene that you kind of have to see to believe.
Yeah, there's just, they did a really good job with that because there's so much happening and they keep cutting to all the different stories.
Yeah.
It was just a really, really interesting way to bring all these stories together. All the characters in this one too, like similar to Exhuma, I felt every character had a really important role. And I really appreciate it because there is character development as they go. But this one also left me with a lot of questions at the end that I did not like.
Really? I think they're doing a third.
Okay. And without spoiling, is there correlation between 1 and 2 anywhere?
Yeah.
Is
it's
it
not
like
a direct sequel?
Okay.
It's not direct,
but similar.
But the same families that have gone through, because they allude to things that they'd gone through, the family had gone through in the first movie. But again, you definitely don't need to have seen the first one. You can watch them completely out of order. But I believe they're doing a third. Got it. But no, it's interesting about the apartment as a good setting for horror, because when you think about it, it's a big low budget trick to just do everything in one location. The majority of Blumhouse movies, one location, just easier, and it's budgetarily a little better. Like a lot of things take place in a single house, but with an apartment complex, you're right, it's very claustrophobic, but you also have the added benefit of it being a complex, so you can have like an infinite number of new tenants and characters, and there's different scenario happening in all these different apartments.
Yep.
And that's what this movie really, really took advantage of. Like every apartment seemingly had its own little movie in it.
Yes.
And you get like 5 or 6 of these stories that just weave together. Like I'm finding with these movies, they don't have stock characters. They don't have stock characters that are just there for the sake of, either being killed or, anything else. Nobody's dispensable, so to speak. Just a lot of depth to these movies. But yeah, those two, it'd be an interesting double feature for sure. Exhuma and Satan's Slaves Communion. But man, for Indonesian horror, I definitely recommend May the Devil Take You and the sequel, May the Devil Take You 2. Those are like high energy Evil Dead kind of movies where, again, they jump right into the insanity up front. They don't try to get you to believe anything. And Pedigore, which is this guy's other movie, Jocko Anwar's other movie, and obviously the first, Satan's Slaves. Yeah.
Well, now I want to see the first one. And you texted me and you're like, see Satan's Slaves, and I was like, that's really like on the nose. Like Satan's Slaves, what are we watching?
It sounds like a motorcycle gang.
Yeah.
I think it is actually. No, maybe not.
I had no idea it was Indonesian until I went and put it on, and I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta like pay attention to this." All right,
yeah,
But yeah, it was really good. I appreciate it. I really like to, again, without spoiling too much, that beginning scene when they go back to 1955. I wish we saw more of that. Basically, the ending result of the ritual.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Baghead. Finally saw Baghead. I know you were talking about that maybe like a couple months ago. Really enjoyed this. It's not that new. I think it came out last year. Concept is this young girl inherits a pub, and it's in this castle, this really expensive to keep location. And turns out inside of the basement of this bar is a ancient spirit called Baghead that allows you to commune with a person of your choice who has died in the past. And all you get is 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, bad things start happening. And it is very similar to Talk to Me, but still its own thing. But I think it was so similar to Talk to Me that it may not have gotten as much recognition, because I didn't hear anybody talk about this until you talked about it. Like I didn't hear too many other horror podcasts talk about it, but I thought it was really good, really solid. Yeah, awesome mythology, really, really cool. There was some good monster effects. I was constantly wondering, like, God, where are they going with this, and what is going to happen? But a really, really cool idea. It definitely has franchise potential. I enjoyed it. I like those kind of creepy monster movies. It has a little. I would say it's Talk to Me meets Castle Freak. Somewhere in between those two. But I enjoy the hell out of it. It was a really solid watch. Just like you're looking for something to watch that's good and entertaining and doesn't take too much effort. And this is definitely that. And very good. I enjoyed it.
And going back and like rewatching it, I appreciated that there was more lore to it than I at least remembered the first time about the Baghead woman. And how she was basically a witch. They blamed her for diseased livestock. Right. They basically put her in this tomb and forgot about her and just like left her there.
Right.
And that's how she ended up haunting all this stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. Just in the sense of a very different approach. I love the wall aspect of it. Like, she can't, if you go beyond that wall,
right,
you're kind of like in her fucking realm at this point. A lot of fun parts to it. There was a note that I made here that I really appreciated. The girl, when the guy Charles comes and he wants to see his wife, and his mom is what ends up getting conjured,
right?
And she was like, "Your wife is dead. You don't get to see her anymore," because everyone's freaked out at this point because now they just all witnessed, even him, and it seemed like up until this point he'd been trying to get her dad to let him do it, and he wouldn't let her. He wouldn't let him. And I really like that he did it and everyone freaked out. And she's like, no, like you got to move on. Like you can't just like do this shit.
Yeah.
And but I like that, it was kind of a cop out, easy way, but, orphaned or at least, displaced or whatever. She comes with her partner or her friend and like they just need money. And they're like, we'll do it a few times and then we'll get the fuck out of here. I thought that was pretty cool, and it gives them a reason to stay versus like, well, why would you keep doing it? Well, they want to like get their shit together and get the fuck out.
Right. Yeah. Really cool mythology, really cool lore and storytelling. I agree. Yeah. Now I hope there's a sequel or a prequel. There's so much to work with here. Yeah. So that was good. That was a really good, good recommendation. And I don't know how more people weren't talking about it. And Baghead is on Shudder now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw some posts about it, but I don't feel like anyone really talked about it too much either. And it was on the main page for a while. It's still in like the top.
The main Shudder page.
Yeah, the same.
Oh yeah, it's on the featured.
The featured.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's been there for a while. Those features sit up there for a while usually, but that one's been there for a little bit. Yeah,
this is a good one out of England. Baghead. What else did you see?
I did finally watch Furiosa, which we talked about last time.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to go too much into it because we said it's not horror, but there are definitely some scenes. But let me tell you, Chris Hemsworth, I thought he was gonna be like a Thor like character.
Okay.
His performance, I thought he was my favorite part of the movie. I really loved his character, just what he did with like the tone of his voice, his personality, like. It's hard to explain. Like, I was really enjoying like watching him because I was expecting like Thor. Even in the previews, I kind of was like, all right, well, this is a movie I would see. Just like I want to see it in the theaters just because it's a Mad Max.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting it to be like as good as I thought. And I just thought he was going to be like a big, a bigger presence, a bigger, but he was just like.
You didn't think he was going to be Jason Momoa?
No.
After you heard me talk
but ever since you said it, all I saw was fucking Jason Momoa. Thanks.
Dude, that scene when he loses both of his nipples. That's not even this is not a spoiler. His nipples both get ripped off simultaneously, and that's not even what makes that scene insane. What makes that scene insane is that he doesn't react. He's just like, oh, anyway, we're going to need to go to Bullet Town. And everybody's looking around like, even the characters are like, he just lost his nipples. Like, is nobody going to say anything? That was maybe the best part of the movie. Yeah. That and the maggot farmer.
Yeah, that part was cool. Because you said in the last time was that there's a scene with maggots and stuff. That was really
shit.
Good. Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah,
so, I enjoyed it. I thought that was such a fun. That's a movie you gotta see in the theaters. Like you gotta experience that like that. And, really
I didn't see it in IMAX. I should have seen it in IMAX, but it doesn't matter.
I don't think I saw it in IMAX either.
It's pretty rocking. I saw Right Here, Right Now, the Ghost movie, Ghost the band, and the concert movie. And I enjoyed the hell out of this. I have become an enormous Ghost fan in the past, 6 months. Obsessive. I don't know what took me so long. They've been around for 10 years.
More than that.
It's been more than 10 years?
I looked at 2006.
Wow.
Going on 20 years.
Oh my God. What? 20 years?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I didn't realize it was that long.
18.
Yeah. But they've been around a long time. Yeah. I just very recently became a fan, and I'm like, I can't stop listening to them. They're so awesome. Definitely one of my favorite bands. Favorite new discovery of this past year, although they're not a new band. But I'd never seen them live. Even before I started really listening to them, people were telling me, like, you got to see Ghost live. It's an amazing show.
I've heard.
It's kind of like what Kiss used to be and like a Rob Zombie show, but I heard that they take it to a whole new level. But this was the next best thing because they're not on tour right now, but I got to go see it in the theater, and it was basically a concert movie of Ghost. And you got to see all the theatrics that they do, and they do some spectacular stuff on stage. And the whole, I don't know how much you know about the stories and the whole mythology behind the singer is a character, and there's this whole, basically they're a group of evil priests or evil popes, and every few years they change their lead singer, although it's the same guy. It's Tobias Forge. It's Tobias Forge playing a new character, but there's like a new evil pope every few years, a different one. And cool. Sometimes they like kill him, and other times his reign is over, and it's a new character.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So if you look back over the course of years, the different incarnations of the lead singer, you'll see that they look a little different. But it's Tobias Forge every single time. And until he got sued by his other bandmates, nobody knew what he looked like or what his name was or anything like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did
until
he get
that
sued?
lawsuit.
Do you know?
I think he was. I think they were. I don't know the details, so don't quote me on any of this. But I think there were some creative differences, and he was like, "Well, I'm Ghost. It's my band, so you guys can either get with the program or not." And again, if I'm not getting this right, sorry, but I think it was something along those lines. So he was basically sued, from what I understand. But again, I've not researched this, so I'm probably getting 2/3 of this wrong. But yeah, he wears a full facial. I don't know exactly what it is. If it's a facial prosthetic, I think it's a mask. I think it's like one of those really good masks, like that company Immortal Masks that makes masks that like vacuum form to your face. Yeah. This is clearly made from his face, and he can sing through it. Cool. But his hair is completely different than his actual hair. So I think it's like a whole face covering. Yeah. But he puts these Pope outfits on, and just the theatrics. It was awesome. It was so awesome.
Do they show a lot of behind the scenes stuff, or is it just like a concert?
So they kind of do this. Yeah, the only issue I had with it is I really wanted like a Scorsese rockumentary, like one of the Stones movies that he did, where you see the Stones in concert and you see the whole concert, but then you see like a documentary on the Stones. You see some behind the scenes stuff. They kind of pretended to do that. So they had the concert, and then they had this character. I think it was Papa Emeritus. I might be getting that wrong. That's the name of the current character. They had him constantly go backstage in character and have there was a costume person who was putting costumes on him, but then the ghost of his father was there talking to him, and there was this subplot about the new pope that was coming and how there needs to be a change in the clergy and stuff like that. And he's feeling threatened that he's going to be killed or, not taken out of the band, so to speak, and replaced. So there's this kind of subplot. They didn't really take it that seriously. It's kind of fun, but it's kind of awkwardly written. But I just wish that there was a real documentary about Ghost, about the making of it. Because it was long. It was like 2.5 hours long.
Really? I kind of thought that's what it was going to be. But when you say that, I feel like if I were a Ghost fan and I've known everything that you explained to me about a different pope every time, like that's pretty cool. Because like now you know that they're talking about something that's going to be the next coming.
I wish that I wish they just took the non-concert side a little more seriously. Either do an honest-to-goodness documentary where you see Tobias Forge talking about it, or they get super cinematic and they catch you up on, or they do a fake documentary about the different popes and this family, and because it's supposed to go back to the 70s. They do all this cool stuff where they say, oh, we just discovered these old songs from the 70s from one of our previous popes, and then they have these songs that are kind of 70s style. So just the mythology and the band is such a creative force. I wish they leveraged that more in the movie. Movie was perfectly enjoyable, especially since I had never seen them live and this was the next best thing. But I had a lot of fun with it. They do some awesome stuff on stage. There's this incredible sequence where they have all of these like basically ballet dancers in skeleton outfits dancing around the stage. And it was a lot of fun. If you're a Ghost fan, definitely check it out. If you're not, you probably will be after watching this. So that's cool. Right Here, Right Now. It was in theaters. I must be coming to streaming soon. But yeah, I just fucking love this band.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll definitely check it out. I wanted to see it in the movies with my brother, and it sounds like it's either not in the movies now, or if we could go in a couple weeks, it's probably not going to be at that point, and that's okay.
Yeah, it should be streaming soon.
We'll have to make a night of it.
Yeah, man. What about you?
What about me? I saw The Watchers. I feel like I'm behind now because you saw all these movies last month. But,
no worries. That'll
really,
be me next month with Quiet Place.
Yeah, but The Watchers was cool. I really liked it a lot better than I thought I might. You had mentioned in the last episode that you're not crazy about having a lot of rules and things in movies like that, and I felt like from what you said, like there were some, but it wasn't like everything needed to be.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. The twist, quote unquote, I kind of saw coming, which for me, I never catch those things.
Okay.
I think as I've gotten older, I catch them now.
She's a Shyamalan, so of course there's going to be a twist.
Yeah, of course. But it was like I kind of called it early on, and like I don't know. Like I said, as I've gotten older, maybe I've just gotten better at spotting them. But like I was also like a teenager. But The Sixth Sense, The Village, I didn't fucking see those twists coming.
Yeah.
Even Shutter Island, I was a little bit older, and people were like, "How did you not know?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. Like, I just fucking watched the movie and let it be."
Yeah.
But this one I caught on really early, and I felt like, But what I did like about it that we didn't really talk about, and again, without like giving too much spoilers away, I like how it's almost like this metaphor of like AI being self-aware.
Oh, interesting.
The way that they're generating like the people,
Yeah.
the way like the fingers and like how they don't look right, like they're.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, that's how I saw it. It's just like,
Oh, you're absolutely right.
yeah, when you generate a fucking AI.
Yes.
And
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
So that's where I saw it. It's like, oh, like, and it's learning and it's getting better and it's getting,
wow.
Oh,
I'm seeing it through a completely different light now.
Yeah, that's how I saw it.
Completely different lens. Yeah.
I liked the first half, and then again, the spoiler, when they without spoiling, when they changed the setting, I didn't like anything after that. I really liked I wish they kind of back to the claustrophobia of being in like one setting. I wish they were just
Stayed there.
The entire time, and then either it was an escape or everything else. I just felt like the second half, it got really slow too. It's like they had to figure out all this stuff. It's like it was just too much. It was too much explaining for me. Like, I really enjoyed that first part, and
Yeah.
But overall, I really did like it, and I thought it was a really cool, interesting idea, and very, very different.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much I liked it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because usually, like, that level of just overly elaborate world building, I just start to tune out. But I didn't have that problem here. It just felt like a fairy tale in a lot of ways. Yeah, the third act definitely got a little plot heavy. I didn't mind it, though. I think I got bored of being in that location, and I wanted to leave. So I thought it was a breath of fresh air when we finally got out of there. I did not see the twist coming, so I definitely enjoyed it. But then when it happened, I was like, well, yeah, of course.
It was there all along.
Yeah.
I wish there was more, and unless I'm forgetting, more explanation of the Watchers. And that I don't remember.
No, I don't think we got too much, but I don't know, there could be a sequel.
Which is okay sometimes. I also, like, to be clear, I don't always need an explanation, but I wanted one for this because I thought the idea was really cool. And it's like, well, if you're going to do this, then, like, you got to give us something, right?
Right.
Like, instead of just being like, this is what it is. And I feel like that's the case where if you're going to go so far of, like, creating a world, like, I don't know.
I think I know what you're saying. Sometimes I get annoyed, but sometimes I think some mystery can work.
Yep.
So I didn't mind it that much, but sometimes it's like, give me answers. Yeah. Like, we've been watching Servant for a while. That's M. Night Shyamalan's TV show on Apple TV.
Yeah,
we're about 2 seasons deep. Nothing has been explained.
Still,
When I read it, and I was reading what people are saying about season 4, and they're like, season 4, still nothing has been explained, and they're just giving new questions that you're asking. And I finally was like, okay, I'm going to abort the mission here. I get really annoyed by that.
Yeah.
It's
4
basically
seasons?
like, yeah.
That's a lot.
I don't know if they reached the end of the 4th season, but like questions raised in season 1 do not get answered in season 2 or 3, and seemingly don't get answered in 4 either. I don't want to be jerked around that long. I think I just might still have, it still might harken back to Lost, the effect that show had on me, and how basically, I felt I was completely shortchanged by that show. I'm hearing the same thing about From, which I started watching and I started liking. Stephen King really liked From, so obviously if the King likes something, I'm going to check it out. But I heard from multiple people, same thing. A lot of questions that they set up in the first season that they do not explain, and they're kind of unapologetic about not explaining it. That I don't like. Some people can handle that. I get annoyed, especially in the scope and scale of a series with multiple seasons. Like, you got to start explaining things.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Did you ever see Wayward Pines?
No, I remember that. Was that David Lynch who did that?
I don't know. Dude, I don't know.
Okay.
But I know that was a book too, and that was one of those shows where the idea was, and it's been a few years, so I could be fucking confusing this with a different show. But to my understanding, these people are locked in. There's a giant wall. You can't go beyond the border.
Okay.
There are these things outside, and I felt like in season 2, I feel like the end of season 1 they start to explain stuff, but then season 2, I just remember same thing of like they just kind of went on and they didn't give you enough of that, and I feel like there's a point. 2 versus 4 seasons is a big difference, but 4 is like ridiculous. Like you gotta
explain some things. Yeah. So I think there's a line. I think sometimes, particularly in horror, there's things that don't need explanation necessarily. They're mysteries that you can keep, but if you do too much of it, it's insulting. Honestly. Yeah, I find it insulting.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Well, then it feels like, well, is this a cash grab? Like, are you just gonna like keep putting it out there?
Mm-hmm.
People are gonna keep watching because they want to know what's going on,
right?
So why not just fucking keep putting it out?
It feels snarky to me almost. Like there's some horror movies that'll do that. That the whole movie you're waiting for an explanation of something, and then just roll credits and you get nothing. Yeah. I won't name names or I won't name the movie, but there's a really bad one from A24 that does that.
Really?
Yeah.
We talked about this a while ago, I think probably off camera, but there's been this surgence of these Netflix shows, all these streaming platforms now where you get picked up for season 1. Mm-hmm. You've already written season 2, assuming that like, you know, it's kind of like the audacity that you're going to get a season 2. Mm-hmm. So season 1 ends with not just like a non-conclusion, but a cliffhanger that you gotta wait for season 2. And a lot of these shows get canceled after season 1.
It's a shame,
right? So that's a problem. Like you're writing with the expectation that you're going to get picked up. Like, no, like write it like, you know, like give us a real conclusion versus like, okay, like, you know, so then we're writing season 1, like. Oh, and then when we get to 2, like I get it and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the world building aspect and thinking that far ahead, some Easter eggs, whatever, you start the character development, but there has to be like a real conclusion. There's nothing worse than watching a fucking season 1 of something that ends and you're like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then season 2 doesn't ever come because it got canceled.
Yeah.
That shit sucks.
Yeah, that sucks. That was Hannibal season 3 for me. Yeah.
I never saw.
Oh, you gotta watch it.
I've heard a lot of good things about that show. I've never.
You have. It's, I would say, top 3 best horror TV shows of all time.
Really?
Like that, Dexter, and Penny Dreadful. For me, I think those are the 3 best.
I like Penny Dreadful.
You don't like Penny Dreadful?
I think I watched the first 2
it 3 times.
It's been.
And not to mention American Horror Story seasons 1, 2, and 3. I would say between those 4, those are the best.
Penny Dreadful, I can't even talk about it because it's been so long since I watched it. I saw the first 2 seasons and I remember being really disappointed.
Really?
Like let down.
Oh God, I thought it was so beautiful.
I wish I could speak more on it. I'd have to watch it fresh.
Yeah.
But I remember being because my cousin was the one who was like, "Yo, you would really like this show. Watch it." And I remember the first I think, if I remember correctly, I think I really liked the characters. There was something that really bothered me that I was just like, like you're just like I just feel like let down like constantly.
It's a little slow. Yeah. But I think that works in its favor. It's very Victorian. It's very elaborate. I just thought it's very emotional. Like it is very emotional. I loved it. I thought it was beautifully done.
It's been so long. I wish I could speak on it more.
Give it another shot,
I wasn't prepared.
But you got to check out Hannibal. That show is exquisite. They agonize over every detail of that entire show. Yeah. Every wardrobe choice, every shot, every color, like every decision is a choice that you could tell that they just agonized over. It's one of the most beautifully produced shows and most graphic. It's way more graphic than Dexter, and it was on network.
Yeah,
it was on. I don't know if it was on ABC or NBC or what. It was on like after dark, but it was the most graphic because he's cooking and you see Hannibal like at home. basically like a cooking show, and you see him with like a human leg and how he prepares it and how he cuts it and slices it and cures it. Like a cooking show.
Yeah.
And it's so graphic and explicit.
Nice.
And they normalize the preparation of human flesh for food, going back to our earlier conversation. And it's so fucking repulsive, but they shoot it. They had food photographers working on that show.
Nice.
To actually make the scenes of cannibalism look appetizing, to freak out the viewers. Yeah, that show is absolute brilliance. And there's people still petitioning for it to come back for a 4th season.
I've seen, it's one of those things that I'll always talk about the feed. Like, it just shows up every once in a while. People seem to love it. That's the first real, like, explanation I've had about it, or at least, like, I've never really got on my way, but it seemed like in the back of my mind, like, that's a show, like, I should probably watch.
100%.
People love it, but I haven't heard it like that and that passionate.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. Speaking on that topic of cannibalism, did you see Fresh?
Yeah. A few years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that movie. That was a movie that was like a big surprise for me.
Man. That was a rough one.
Fucking good.
It was great.
Yeah.
But did you feel ill afterwards? Like, I didn't feel right. It didn't touch like Martyrs, but I felt like icky and gross after watching it. It's disturbing. It gets under your skin.
Well, when you think about, it's like all these rich people who just want like the best cut of meat, right? Like it was just really well done. I remember watching the trailer and it looked like a silly kind of like comedy, bubbly. And I was like, all right, whatever. And
it's not.
I ended up putting it on, I think, because I thought it was going to be something light or whatever. And that whole like, what do you call it? The opening like credits, when like the fucking opening card actually happens. Like it
takes a while.
It's like 10 minutes in. It's like really far. That one I was like, oh shit, like got me immediately. The idea is really cool. My brother makes fun of me because I'll often ask, like, if you had an opportunity, like, would you try a piece of human?
Absolutely not.
No, not at all.
Would you?
Well,
if it was like humanely sourced or prepared, like grass-fed human or cage-free human.
No, I wouldn't go out my way like that. But if it was in a survival situation.
Oh, well.
In an alive situation, would you eat me?
If the people had died already, would I eat you? Did you just ask me?
Yeah.
Oh, if you were dead, and there was no other option, and I couldn't hunt or gather or anything like that, then for sure, for survival, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I get that.
I would. I'd save your skull though, and I'd keep it.
Yeah.
And I would say hello to you every morning.
Bronze the shit, put on the fucking shelf. Say what's up to me every day.
I'm like, sorry, I had to eat you, but it was for survival.
Pour a little bourbon out over the head each morning. No, but I have said, and I would never, of course, I would never do. But my brother makes fun. He's back to my brother. I'm gonna show him this clip. I would be curious to see what it tastes like.
Okay.
I don't think that's that weird. You're on the carnivore diet right now.
I bet it tastes like chicken.
Maybe.
Pretty close. Yeah. Liquid Death, obviously, which you're aware of, Brand, you're aware of. A couple of years ago, they did the vegan cannibal steakhouse where they made soy meat that was meant to taste like human flesh. Yeah, they actually did that. I don't know what the research process was like in finding that out, but they made like soy human meat.
Interesting.
Kind of to make fun of like Tofurkey and all of those soy-based meat products. They did a fake soy human. Yeah.
Interesting.
The vegan
I did not see that.
It's from a couple years ago, but yeah, they were all about that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
No, dude, you got to see Hannibal.
Yeah.
You divorce any notions or any sort of associations with the movies completely.
Cool. Okay, cool.
You got to see it through completely new eyes.
I'll definitely check it out. We're always looking for new stuff to watch, and sometimes we're just like, well, fuck, we finished this. Like, all right, well, what do we watch? Or, then we end up putting the fucking Office on because we watched The Office and Modern Family like nonstop.
I love Modern Family.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I can watch that shit all day. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm definitely gonna check that out because you kind of reinforce everything I kind of got a consensus from, like kind of just seeing online and
cool.
Yeah.
And I saw Under Paris. Did you see that?
No.
It is a shark movie that takes place in Paris.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically this idea that the shark moves into I forgot the name of the river. The Seine is a river that flows through Paris, and a shark finds its way in there. And the first 2/3 of this are really, really interesting because they have this whole team of marine biologists and animal rights activists And it actually seemingly feels like what would actually happen if this were to actually happen, which it doesn't seem that far-fetched because I think it connects to brackish water and it connects to the sea ultimately. So like it could happen, I suppose, as easily as a shark finding its way into the Hudson, which could happen because it's connected to open water. Like, why couldn't that happen? There was a humpback whale in the Hudson a couple of years ago.
I remember that.
Yeah. But this movie starts off, it's worth watching. It's fun. I love animal attack movies. This is one of the better shark movies out there, for sure.
So this isn't like on the Sharknado level, more like a...
Well, here's the problem with it. It starts off really good and really strong and really believable. And there's a lot of cool... It doesn't even quite get too science fiction-y in the beginning. Okay. It feels fairly grounded. I kind of struggle to say that because the whole concept is a little bit outlandish. Then in the last third of the movie, it starts to go into deep blue sea territory. Like, we find out the sharks are capable of doing kind of mutant things, and we're like, really? It kind of ruins it. And but it's still fun. But it was so close to not being schlocky. Okay. But then it kind of gets a little Sci-Fi Channel towards the end.
Okay.
But it's good. It's worth watching.
Is this like a newer release?
Yeah, really new. It came out this month on Netflix. It's a French movie, Under Paris.
Under Paris, okay.
Under Paris. Really interesting stuff going, but the last third, it just got a little... It took a hard science fiction turn that it really didn't need to take.
Okay.
But it had a lot going for it, and it was fun. It was suspenseful. I mean, I think as shark movies go, I don't think there's a lot of them, but there's not a lot of good ones. I think the best are Jaws. Mm-hmm. I think The Shallows with Blake Lively is fantastic. Did you ever see that?
No.
Oh, man. That's one of the best. I think that's the second best shark movie after Jaws. The Shallows with Blake Lively. She's a surfer, and I believe she's somewhere in South America, and she goes out on a break, and she has to surf this big epic break, and she gets stuck out on a piece of coral, and she's being circled by a great white shark.
Oh shit!
And she has to outsmart it. It's like Cujo, but out in the ocean.
What's it called?
It's called The Shallows. The effects are really good. It's beautifully shot. It's tonally very different from the other shark movies. But, I feel like the issue with a lot of other ones is they go to science fiction. I like 27 Meters Down. The sequel got a little crazy, a little haywire. But that was pretty solid, too. Or 28 meters down, however many meters down.
I don't think I've seen very many shark movies except for Open Water, Jaws. I've never even seen Jaws 2.
It's okay.
Some people say 2 is better than 1.
I would not say that.
Okay.
Well, Spielberg originally was going to do Jaws 2, and his original concept for Jaws 2 was the SS Indianapolis, which was Quint's origin story, which is a real case that happened during the war, where there was a submarine that was bombed, and then all the soldiers were in the water, and I think like over 100 soldiers got eaten by sharks.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was severely, severely traumatic. And that's Quint's origin story in Jaws. So Spielberg was going to do that movie as Jaws 2, but the producers were like, we had enough issues with just one shark. Now you want like dozens of sharks? Like, no. Yeah. But he does regret, he didn't want to do Jaws 2, but he does regret losing track of his franchise because Jaws 3 gets a little silly. Okay. Jaws 3D. And then Jaws 4 is preposterous.
I honestly did not know there was a 4 till now. I knew there was a 3. 4.
Yeah. They're fun to watch. Just put on in the background and do your emails or whatever. Yeah. But 2 is worth paying attention to. 2 is not bad. Yeah. Not bad at all. It's more Chief Brody. They got Roy Scheider back, which is great. And there's this funny meme that I always see. It's like, remember, kids, the mayor in Jaws 1 is also the mayor in Jaws 2. So it's important to vote in your local elections.
Smart.
Yeah.
Recirculate that now.
Yeah. But The Shallows is good. Not The Shallows. The Shallows is great. Mm-hmm. See The Shallows. Second best shark movie for my money after Jaws. But Under Paris is on Netflix.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a lot of news. Shall we do the Howl?
Let's do the Howl.
Let's do the Howl. All right. Van Helsing television series in the works at CBS. CBS is developing a new contemporary Van Helsing series. I guess it's going to take place in modern times. Dr. Abraham Van Helsing teams up with FBI agent Mina Harker to solve New York City's most harrowing cases, blending monster hunting with modern detective work. That'll be interesting. Why not? I wish they got Hugh Jackman for it, but I feel like that's not going to happen.
You know, reading it just sounds like a very CBS kind of, like it's gonna feel like a CBS show. It's funny because I coincidentally put on Van Helsing maybe 2 weeks ago as a rewatch. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I used to love that movie when it came out.
Oh yeah,
and it's still a lot of fun. The CG doesn't hold up; it's really old now. Yeah. But there's some really it's just a fun movie. It's a good gateway action. Like I think it's a PG-13.
Yep,
it's just a lot of fun. It's got that fantasy element, which is a nice transition from youth into a little bit more monsters.
Yeah. Did they make 2 of those?
If there's a second one, I didn't see it.
Yeah, another movie that's kind of similar because I think the Van Helsing movie is really fun. Mm-hmm. There was a movie that came out a few years ago. What is it called? I think it's called Jack and Jill Witch Hunters. Is it Jack and Jill? No, Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Yeah.
That movie was so much fun.
Really?
It's kind of a comedy. It kind of has a Army of Darkness vibe.
Okay.
Will Ferrell was one of the producers on it, one of the executive producers on it.
I didn't know that.
So it's got some humor kind of baked into it, but it's a lot of fun. Fun monsters, fun hunting action sequences. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it's cool because all those fairy tales, they're much darker than we know them as. So
Grimm's fairy tales. Yes, I think that's where the term grim comes from.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, when you think about them, they're all pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
They were told to scare children into staying in their beds.
Yeah.
This is pretty bad.
Yeah. That's cool. But no, those looked kind of fun. I just never watched them.
Did you see that Dracula series from the BBC from about 5 years ago?
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Really
I didn't love the 3rd episode or when they go to
the modern times.
When they switch to modern days. I wish they kept it, but it didn't ruin it.
Everything up to that with the nun.
So cool.
The guy, there was a really, I remember I really liked it, and that's what did it for me. And I was like, oh, he's got a cell phone. I remember there was a cell phone. There was something I was like, or maybe it was her, but I didn't like how she, I don't know.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Regardless, though, it was a whole new take on Dracula. Even his teeth were different. We haven't seen vampire teeth like that. They were serrated like shark's teeth.
All of them. Yeah.
That was so cool, and it had a very different vibe than any other Dracula I'd ever seen.
Because she stood up to him, if I remember the nun. It's been a while, but I do remember all those I really, really liked until the end.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Welcome to Derry has been branded an HBO original, and it's going to air on HBO Max. So this is the upcoming horror series that's going to get into the origin of Pennywise the Clown that's going to take place in the It universe. I've been thinking about this. I'm pretty psyched. I thought those It movies were so fantastic. I thought the second one was... the first one was great, but the second one was incredible.
Really?
I love those movies.
Oh,
I think I like the second one better.
They were just really long for me.
They're long, but...
long is okay if they're... I don't know. They were boring. They got really boring to me. The first one I think I liked a lot. The second was kind of I don't know. I really...
Interesting.
I was kind of let down. This is interesting, but I'm also kind of over the Pennywise.
Okay, fair enough.
The It franchise, but what gives me hope and some excitement is that it's HBO.
Yeah,
this isn't CBS,
right?
They're
going to go there.
This could be really, it could be really cool. I feel like they could have gone further in the movies.
Further as far as what?
I don't know. I guess maybe as being a little bit more dark, a little bit more violent. It still felt like I feel like I was watching a PG-13.
Really?
Kind of, yeah. Because there's some graphic parts, but
a little tame.
I guess it's
that's why we got Art the Clown, man. That's why we got Terrifier.
Exactly, and that's the meme of you've seen this guy makes this guy look like fucking
crusty.
Yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll take it.
I'm excited about it.
That's cool.
And Bill Skarsgård is in it.
That's important.
Yeah. So it's going to tie into the movie completely. But yeah, I want more of that. And those movies did incredibly well.
Well, and if it's going to be a prequel or a origin story, then we're hopefully get a little. You'll get more Bill Skarsgård to really showcase his,
You'll probably get the darkness you've been looking for
there.
Yeah, but I'm psyched about this.
I hope so.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling is producing a zombie comedy. I used to eat brains, now I eat kale. All right. This is going to be done with MGM or Amazon MGM Studios. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, the film follows former zombies struggling to fit back into society. He's a horror fan, Ryan Gosling. Mm-hmm. He did some music in the past that's kind of like horror-centric, and he's apparently like a horror fan.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he was supposed to be the Wolfman in Lee Whannell's Blumhouse Wolfman.
Yeah, what happened to that?
He dropped out. I don't know why.
I remember hearing about that.
I don't know why. They got a new guy. I forgot who. Pardon me. I should know this. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened.
Well, I'm okay for this. I like Ryan Gosling, and if it's a comedy, I mean, we see his personality. I mean, he was. I'll bring Ken back. Ken was great. It's just it fits him. It fits really well. So I'm curious, and it's funny because this is the opposite of what we talked about from cannibalism. This is going the opposite direction.
Right.
We're going to kale.
Yeah. Zombies have license to be cannibals, though. I mean, that's what they're supposed to. They're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now they're eating kale.
So,
fuck it.
Yeah, those would be some anemic ass zombies. Dr. Jekyll. Hammer movie starring Eddie Izzard set for August release. This will be cool. This is Hammer films are basically coming back.
Seems like it.
Yeah, somebody bought Hammer fairly recently. So now I think that this is going to revise the label in a big way. Kind of like we have Universal is putting out a bunch of monster movies, and then Hammer in Britain was basically matching them, not movie for movie, but back in the day there was the Universal horror movies, the Universal Draculas, and Universal Frankensteins, and then the Hammer ones. Now that Universal's doing more monster movies, Hammer's like, well, hey, we're going to start doing ours too. Yeah. So that's kind of cool because it's always a very different take on all of these different stories. Eddie Izzard, I think, is brilliant. He's a brilliant actor, brilliant comedian.
Who is that?
This will be interesting. He's a comedian. He's from Britain. He's been famous for a long time, and he's been, I don't know his exact orientation. He is trans. Okay. He is some days identifies as male, some days identifies as female. But I think that this movie, Dr. Jekyll, is going to explore that in a really meaningful way. And I think that that's why they cast him.
I've seen him now that I'm looking him up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
That could be cool.
Very compelling actor, really funny comedian. So I think that this will be really, really interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I'm just psyched to see that Hammer Films is coming back again.
I like a good Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And I was going to say, even with the Van Helsing thing, I really liked how they did Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in there. Or I guess it would be Mr. Hyde.
I haven't seen that in so long. You're making me want to watch it.
He's like the big dude in the bell tower.
Oh,
he's
okay.
Like swinging around and shit. They have like a fight scene in the beginning. It's pretty early on.
Did you see the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Mm-hmm. That's fun. That's got a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde character. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's got a Wolfman too.
That's the Sean Connery one, right?
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. It's flawed, but so is Van Helsing. But they're fun. They're fun movies. Latest update on A24's Crystal Lake. Charlize Theron might play Pamela Voorhees. So I don't know if this seems like this is a rumor. It doesn't seem to be confirmed. I don't know if it's the curse of Crystal Lake, but things seem to just keep on changing with this. I wish they would do it already.
Yeah.
But seems they're changing showrunners again. You know who they had on board? Brian Fuller, who's the showrunner and creator of Hannibal. Oh, okay. He was going to do this. I don't know why he's not now, but I thought he would have been. When I heard that, I was like, perfect. This is going to be great. Yeah. But he's no longer doing it. It seems Nick Antosco, I believe, is the front runner as being the showrunner. He also worked on Hannibal. He worked on Chucky. He worked on Brand New Cherry Flavor. So it'll clearly be in good hands if he does it. But I would have been interested to see what Brian Fuller would have done.
Did you watch the Chucky series? Have you seen it?
I watched a little of it. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. It's not enough. Like I feel like I've done Chucky. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up on the movies. I've seen most of the movies. Yeah. I enjoyed them. I feel like there isn't much more to say on the topic of Chucky. Yeah. So I'm kind of done, but I like that it exists. I don't know. If I ever get COVID again, I'll probably sit around and watch it. It seems like a fun comfort show.
I've enjoyed it a lot, actually. I think they've done a really good job of just making it fun. The kills and the violence, it's like it's there. Jennifer Tilly's in it.
I love
there's
her.
There's a lot of It's really it's a lot better than you would think, because I went in kind of like, I watched it because I heard from other people that it was actually pretty fun. Mm-hmm. And I just keep putting it on just to see where they're going to go with it. It gets ridiculous too, but it's great because it's Brad Dourif. And his daughter. What's her name?
Oh, that's right. His daughter's in it.
She actually plays young Brad Dourif. What's his name in the movie?
What is his name?
I know this, man.
Charles Lee Ray.
Yes, Charles Lee Ray. She plays him in his young flashbacks. They did all these prosthetics. Like, she looks just like him.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's creepy, like how much she looks like him.
His daughter plays him?
Yeah.
Whoa.
In the flashbacks, it's like a younger version of him. Like,
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. It's freaky because she's like beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's enough to like look at him and be like, oh, that's clearly his daughter.
So you get like a whole origin story on Charles Lee Ray, because we don't, in the movies, we really don't find out a lot.
You get to learn more about him and him and Tiffany, their history, and what they start doing. And then it gets a little crazy because then Chucky or Charles Lee Ray, he can kind of go into other people's like bodies. Like he's like learned, because it's all like, you know, it's voodoo. Exactly. So he's learned to like, he can jump into a different body and he still needs like a host and all that stuff too, but I think it's only temporary. I forgot how it works. But
right. I mean, it's not real voodoo. They called it voodoo in the first movie, which is probably insensitive. I don't know if they're calling it voodoo anymore, but it's something like that. Just call it black magic.
Like witchcraft, like that kind of stuff. But it's fun. So there are a lot of like cool flashbacks. But she's good. She's really good too. And she plays not only him, but she plays a separate character too, who's like really pivotal to the.
Interesting.
And some fucked up shit has happened, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually I'll spoil it. So spoiler alert.
Well, actually, I might watch it now. You're making me want to watch it.
Okay, so I won't
maybe
spoil
don't
anything.
drop it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's just a lot of shit that happens. And like to all the kids, just like really fucked up shit happens. Okay. So it keeps it going of like,
this sounds like a recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd watch it.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I would recommend.
Where does it tie into? Does it fit within the timeline of the other movies? For instance, Bride of Chucky. Is that scripture in this?
So that's a good question because I don't remember. I haven't caught up. When they took their last hiatus for like the mid-season break.
Yeah.
I stopped there and I think they're back on now and I haven't caught up. So what happens is Tiffany takes over Jennifer Tilly's like real body. Like she's actually Jennifer Tilly.
Oh my God,
show.
really?
Yeah. So she's acting as her and starts doing fucked up shit too. So Jennifer Tilly.
Is it meta? Does it take place in a world where there are Chucky movies?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. I'll check it out. Yeah, I was basically ignoring it, but
I don't think it is. No, I think it's worth it. I think it's you got to get it seems almost like a little high schooly. Mm-hmm. That's where to me the bubbly kind of like it's not that serious. You got to just kind of like let it ride.
Right.
And it's worth it as the story progresses and Devin Sawa is also in it.
Oh, that's
right. He's in every season and he plays a different character too.
Oh, interesting.
So like that's kind of fun. Like they do stuff like that where it keeps you kind of like wanting a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Seems like something I would have really been into at like 14.
Yeah.
But sometimes that stuff can be fun. Jordan Peele's fourth movie is releasing Halloween 2026. And the film is still untitled, no plot details, but it's coming out October 23rd, 2026. Can't wait. Sure. Counting the days.
I can wait. That's
what?
More, not in a bad way. More of like, dude, this is 2026. This is.
Yeah, but it's Jordan Peele.
It's more than 2 years away.
It was Jordan Peele.
Yeah, it's fine. Did you like
everything he's ever touched? I liked.
Yeah,
pretty much.
What was the last one? Nope.
Love Nope.
I really liked Nope, but I was very disappointed at the end. I didn't like the. You
didn't like the end?
I didn't like the thing. I didn't like the alien.
You didn't like the UFO?
UFO.
Which is kind of an alien, though. I think you were both right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting.
I think I was just disappointed.
Interesting idea.
More of the way it looked. And I know he got a lot of inspiration from some like deep sea creatures, things like that.
Yeah. Well, it starts turning into ribbons and stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like fabric after a while. Yeah. It doesn't look like an organic creature.
And I guess
I get how that can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Off-putting.
But I did enjoy it for what it was. And I wanted more of the TV show with the chimp.
Oh yeah.
And the Stephen Yeun like story. Like I wanted a little bit more of that. And like there is some premise there, but it's also like if you remove that completely, it's not detrimental to the story.
Yeah, it was just like a nice add-on. It thematically worked with the story, the idea of animals and spectacles and things like that. Animals attacking.
Yes, that's actually.
It took me a while to like realize that.
About that, yeah.
But yeah, and it's slow. It's a different. I'm not gonna say it's slow. It's paced differently than his other movies, and it's more elaborate, and it's more exercises in cinema. But those night exteriors are one of the most difficult things to shoot, and they look sensational.
Yes. Those are my favorite parts. That one night scene
incredible.
with the the blood and everything when it starts to
that sequence is amazing. Yeah.
That's really
This
cool.
was just he didn't disappoint. I think it was a significantly higher budget than he had before, and it was epic and big, but it wasn't over the top either. It still breathed.
Yeah.
It still had a lot of art in it.
Yep.
Art to it. I really liked it. I liked it a lot. So I'm psyched. I think I heard him say that his fourth movie might be his favorite. But, we're in the rumor mill, all these speculations.
It's PR too. Let's hype it up now. And, we'll talk in 2025.
Few directors have this effect where it's like, we're announcing them that the movie is coming out. No plot details, but we're telling you it's coming out in 2 years, but you don't get anything. And I'm still like, okay, great. Thanks for thank you for the update.
We'll start getting some rumors. We'll get a still. We'll get a leak from a fucking on shoot day.
I'll be eating it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Possession remake is on the way from Parker Finn, director of Smile, starring Robert Pattinson. So, did you ever see Andrei Zulawski's Possession with Sam Neill? Pretty insane, unhinged. It's worthwhile. It's unlike anything you've seen, and it's very nonlinear. It's kind of got a Cronenberg feel to it. It's a very unsettling movie. It's hard to describe. You watch it and at first you're like, what the fuck? What did I just sit through?
The Sam Neill part sounds familiar. How old is this movie?
I think it came out in the 80s.
Okay, that's probably why.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's interesting that's the first thing that Parker Finn is doing after Smile, which is interesting. Because, it's a pretty beloved movie. It's got a huge cult following. And it's a lot more nuanced. I love Smile, but Smile is a little bit more straightforward of a plot, whereas like Possession is very, very layered emotionally.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's about this couple who have the worst relationship you can imagine. It's as toxic as it gets, and then it gets evil and sadistic and just completely insane.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's other stuff. It's so hard to explain. You'll see it and
Would you recommend
Yeah, I think you would like it.
Yeah?
I think you would like it. Okay. But it's very nonlinear, and there's entire scenes and that you don't necessarily move the plot forward. There's a lot of exercise in tone and emotion and acting. The acting is really good. But it's two people who are going insane, and their awful relationship that unfolds as they go crazy, and you feel like you're going insane watching it. So it's very effective.
Is it one of those where you're watching scenes and you're not sure if this is really them going crazy? Is it really happening? I like stuff like that.
A little bit.
Take you out a little bit.
It bends reality a little bit. Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what Parker Finn does with it.
Speaking of Parker Finn, did he do Smile too?
Yeah. The trailer came out. Yeah.
I know.
And it's on the way.
It looks okay.
He's doing it.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
I wasn't sure.
I love Smile 1.
Yeah, I know.
I love
Me
Smile.
too. That was that and Barbarian.
Oh, Barbarian, yeah.
That movie. Those are my two favorite of that year.
Yeah, Barbarian. I just watched Barbarian recently, actually. I didn't bring it up because this movie is like so old, but not old, but yeah.
That was your first time?
Fun. No, I saw it when it came out. I saw it in the theater, but I rewatched it this past month, and so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah. Oh, well, you had interviewed the director in that one too, didn't you?
No, I didn't interview Zach Kreger. I want to. Would love to.
I'm thinking of a different interview then.
I interviewed Parker Finn.
That one I'm thinking of too then. Because I remember for Barbarian, they talked about how it was originally written. The story was a short story of just the first half of the film. They made up that second half to make the full-length feature. The part where... it
was a short story, like in an anthology.
Yeah, I'm not sure where. Don't quote me on it, but it definitely... The screenplay itself was not written. That's why it's like two different movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I did notice that. I did like that, though. I did like that quality to it. It's just his one movie, and then we cut to Justin Long.
With Justin Long.
Yeah.
He's fucking the best. Tusk, baby.
Yeah, he's a horror icon. I liked Tusk. Yeah. Oh, we talked about Tusk already.
I think on our first episode.
I think we did, yeah. New Ghostbusters animated series coming in Netflix. That'll be interesting. Cool. I was admittedly quite disappointed with the last Ghostbusters.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I thought it leaned too hard into being a family movie, and it was so overly family-centric.
Trying to really reel in the
generation. Whereas the first movie, you watch the first movie, they're drinking and smoking, and they're basically, it's very edgy. The first one's very edgy. I mean, it was originally going to have John Belushi in it. It was all these guys who were on SNL.
Yeah.
And they were basically like these very municipal. They're like garbage men, but with the supernatural, and that sort of mix of highbrow and lowbrow and fantastical elements with this very grounded grittiness that it had. I thought that's what made that movie magical. I love Ghostbusters 2 also. Nope, seemingly nobody likes Ghostbusters 2. I love Ghostbusters 2. It's not as good as number 1, but really solid follow up. But I don't know, this just felt like a bit of a cash grab. Some of the ghosts were cool, but the story wasn't that interesting, and it was all about the children are now becoming like these young Ghostbusters, which doesn't make sense because they basically have nuclear reactors on their back. And I don't know, it was just trying so hard to be a family-friendly movie. Whereas the first one, I'll lean into that PG-13 a little more. Yeah, you know,
I hadn't seen it, and it was that night that we went out for your Thanksgiving. Speaking where your
the Thanksgiving
your buddy Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah,
we had talked about it, and I was like Ghostbusters. I was like I'm really. He was like, go see it. He's like, trust me. It's like it's worth it.
The new one?
Yeah, no, not the second one. The first.
Oh, the first one. Okay.
And then I was like, yeah, but like, there was that other one with the fucking Melissa McCarthy. He was like, wait,
don't think about.
We don't talk about that movie. We don't talk about that movie. And I still haven't seen it, but I wanted to see it to see the second one as
which
well.
One?
The first. The one after the Melissa McCarthy.
Oh, okay. So Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that he was like, that's a really good, like, you should watch it.
It's solid.
Yeah.
It didn't set me on fire either, to be honest. Well, it's fine. It's about, it's kind of like The Force Awakens for Ghostbusters.
Okay.
It's very safe, and they just redo a bunch of shit they've already done.
Okay.
But, I want, like, edgy Ghostbusters again, you know. And they were funny. I mean, these had some laughs for sure, but the appearance of everybody except for Ernie Hudson was kind of incidental.
Yeah.
Like we see Ray in Ray's occult books, and like, oh great, let's learn more about his book business and all the other occult shit that he's into. They don't get into any of that. There was so much. I should stop. I can rant about this for a long time. I saw it with my wife, and the whole weekend I was talking about and they missed this, and they should have done this. I monologued about that movie and all the missed opportunities about it. But anyway. Yeah, I was a big fan of this show as a kid. I had the bed sheets and everything that. Then they did a new one called The Extreme Ghostbusters, which I heard was like cooler, a little more young adult, which I have not seen. But I don't know. I'm curious about this. Hope they do something new and different.
I'd be down. I saw the movies as a kid, but I really don't remember a lot of them. I remember watching the cartoon, but it never became like part of like me. Like it was never like a really big thing. And I think as I'm older, I appreciate what I wish it could have been for me. Do you know what I mean? Like growing up, and I see how exciting some of these movies are. Unfortunately, the new one kind of sounds like a letdown, but but I would go back and watch that previous one, or go back and watch all the other ones too. It's been a really long time.
Well, I tried watching the cartoons recently, the real Ghostbusters. They did not age well.
I'm sure.
Well, I mean, they're literally for children.
Yeah.
It's like it's as gateway as it gets. I had the action figures and so I had the whole playhouse.
Yeah.
But they're not. I did not find them worthwhile to watch now. Some stuff. I watch Pee Wee's Playhouse now, and it's still awesome.
Yeah,
still fantastic. Yeah.
It's funny. I put on fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah, how was that?
If not last night, the night before.
Was it
I watched
watchable?
The first couple episodes. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh my god, like no, it was fine.
One of my favorites that is still really good now is Courage the Cowardly Dog.
I never watched that show.
That show is awesome, and it's really scary.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Rin Tin Tin. I know that's not what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, no. Different. No, Courage the Cowardly Dog is his dog, and he takes care of his owners. And every episode, there's some supernatural threat.
Oh, okay.
And it actually gets scary. Like, it's a scary... If I was a kid watching that, it would just push me far enough where it's like, this is actually scary. But it's fun.
It's cool.
Yeah. All right, what else we got here? Werewolves, starring Frank Grillo, will unleash practical werewolves this December. And Stephen C. Miller's behind this, starring Frank Grillo, with practical effects by Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr. So Tom and Alec are the guys behind Amalgamated Dynamics, also known as Studio ADI. They do some of the biggest, best, most epic practical effects. They worked for Stan Winston. Okay. So their studio is basically the equivalent to like Stan Winston's studio. They do Jurassic World. They do the Alien and Predator movies and stuff like that.
Okay.
So these are going to be some badass werewolves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And awesome. Frank Grillo, hey, man, sign me up. That sounds like fun.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. And that is the Howl. Obviously, there was a lot more horror news. And for that, definitely check out my newsletter at nicktaylor.com/thehowl. Alrighty. I think it's time for Did You Know?
Did you know that George Romero was hired to write and direct the first Resident Evil movie?
No, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that. Okay.
No.
That's the fact that I was like, I feel like you would know that or would have known that.
It would have been way
It
better.
wouldn't have been a surprise. So yeah, I went through this rabbit hole the last couple of days. It just kind of randomly come up. I heard about that a long time ago, but never really. It just kind of came across. My brother sent me a link to a YouTube channel called Residents of Evil.
Okay.
And I found this just kind of in the feed, and it was a director interview. But anyway, to go back, he actually directed a 30-second Japanese trailer for Resident Evil 2 that went out, which was called Biohazard 2, because that's what they call that in Japan.
He directed a trailer for what, the video game?
For the video game.
George Romero did?
Yes.
Okay.
So it seems that led to a deal for him to write and direct the first movie. So what's really interesting is that George Romero at this point, this is like 1998. Mm-hmm. He's 40-something. Like, he's not playing video games. He doesn't have a PlayStation.
Right.
He has an assistant who's playing the game and basically like recording all the gameplay for him. Falls in love with like the game itself and writes the screenplay for it. He gets hired for all this, but writes the screenplay for it. And essentially, the consensus is that the result was really gory, violent, gruesome, where it would have gotten either an unrated or an X-rated.
Oh, man. X-rated? Not an NC-17.
No, it sounds like that would have been like the next level. Of like how
X is like, oh, really?
Like porn, right? Yeah.
X is porn.
Yeah. So I guess, I don't know. That's what I had heard into. Yeah. Like pretty fucking gruesome.
Whoa.
And so it's cool because at this point, like, Resident Evil is responsible for survival horror in video games.
Yep.
And not only is this like the number one survival horror game because it's the first one, but this is like in the top selling video games like out right now. So they wanted a blockbuster like movie.
Right.
And that's not what he was going to do.
He was going to do something hardcore.
Right. So
oh god, that would have been so good.
It's so interesting because he wrote this screenplay really, really based on the games, the first game. And it seems like he changed like his little things here and there, but for the most part, he wrote like what the fans would have really wanted like today.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Resident Evil movie. I was like, "Where's Leon?" Like, I love Mila Jovovich. There's no Leon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead, they ended up hiring what's his name? He's the guy that did Mortal Kombat, Paul W.S. Anderson.
Oh, okay.
He did Mortal Kombat. He did Event Horizon.
Event Horizon's good.
He gave them the blockbuster, what turned into the action film.
I get that. They made so many of those movies.
Yeah, they made a lot. And he directed most of them.
Yeah.
And from what my understanding is, listening to this podcast of someone who has basically been following all this like the documentary, like they're doing a documentary on it right now.
Oh, on this movie?
On the Romero, like
it's kind of like Jodorowsky's
the
Dune.
Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But apparently the Paul W.S. Anderson version, the Resident Evil, the first movie that we know of, was just a script that they kind of just slapped Resident Evil on as the title.
Yeah,
it was
never feel really haphazard.
It was never really written as such. So so that's my Did You Know? It's really sad as a Resident Evil fan that we'll never get to see that.
Never get to see that. Is the script available?
Yeah, you can look online. So there's also, so this is what kind of led me down the rabbit hole. Just coincidentally, this is as of like the past week. A gentleman named Brandon Salisbury is doing a documentary. He just released his first either like teaser. I think he did something at a convention last weekend in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It was the first kind of sneak peek at the documentary. Okay. But he's apparently gotten access to like old footage, the screenplay. He's interviewed a bunch of people who were surrounding George Romero at the time. So there's a lot of you get to hear a lot about what was happening at the time and why this didn't happen the way it should have. So he's got a documentary coming out. There's still no release date, but he does have a trailer. It looks really interesting. And the interview I saw with him was interesting just to see how many people he's spoken to. And apparently for that trailer that I mentioned, the Resident Evil 2, there's apparently it's a 30-second, it's a video game trailer. and it's a live action like trailer. It looks really cool. But apparently there's all this footage that was cut because it's just a trailer that he has access to, and they're trying to release that.
Oh, he did a live action trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they're trying to release like a 20-minute short film with all the excess footage from that time.
Yeah.
So that I'm really excited for. But I thought this was it. I'm very intrigued to just learn a little bit more about like what happened, what went down, and just there's a lot of unknowns that we really don't know about. But it sounds like a lot's going to come out in this documentary too.
That sounds awesome. I'd be curious to know what that would have looked like.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome. Did you know that Steven Spielberg was working on a movie called Night Skies right after he had done Close Encounters? He wanted to explore the other side of aliens and abductions and things like that, and he was doing a movie about hostile aliens. And there were a few different versions of the script. Originally, it was aliens in this small southwestern town, and instead of being friendly and helping humanity understand itself the way that the aliens were in Close Encounters, these were hostile and they were dangerous and they were kind of evil. And then they became a little less evil and a little more mischievous. And then they were kind of like pesty and they were kind of like infesting people's homes and things like that. And they were like little small aliens. Still hostile though. And he just wasn't feeling right about the script. And then there was one version of the script where somebody's like, I don't really like the script, but I do like the idea that you have in here of a little boy bonding with one of the aliens, which was part of one of the last iterations of the script. And then he just scrapped the whole thing and wrote about that, and that became E.T. So E.T. originally was supposed to be about very angry, mean aliens. But then they repurposed that idea tonally into Gremlins. Oh, which Spielberg produced, and you can feel when you watch Gremlins, you're like, this feels like a Spielberg movie. You feel that Amblin touch in it. Yeah. So it's funny, like when you're working on one thing, you can use the sawdust to make something else.
Interesting.
Or a project can just go from one thing and turn into something completely different. You have to listen to that. Like Beetlejuice originally was supposed to be very, very different.
Really?
It was about this purple demon who was like from Turkey or something. I might be getting a lot of this wrong, but it went through so many iterations to become what we now know as Beetlejuice. But E.T. was supposed to be about hostile aliens.
Interesting.
But it became about Spielberg's dealing with his own parents' divorce.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've been listening to what kind of led me to that George Romero. It's a podcast from Dread Central called Development Hell.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And that's one episode that just happened to be on. And I think they did a small like series on George Romero and all the different things that he started. Because apparently in the 90s, he kind of like, he wasn't putting movies out in the 90s, but he was writing a lot. He was getting paid a lot. He was doing a lot of scripts. So there's a lot of shit that he worked on that didn't come to fucking life either.
Yeah.
For that same reason. I think he did a Goosebumps one.
Really?
I think
that's a little below his pay grade.
Or that's Guillermo del Toro. It might have been Guillermo.
Oh, okay.
I remember scrolling through and seeing all the different episodes of all the things that he started to work on.
Yeah.
And, didn't actually come up, but apparently he was like beasting in the 90s, just like writing and writing and writing and writing.
And
when he passed away, I know his son definitely like is in the archives now releasing stuff, and that's the podcast episode that I listened to. They were able to like go through a lot of his like his stuff that got sent to whoever it was that was,
Oh, one other detail I forgot to mention. Back when it was a movie about hostile aliens, Spielberg was not planning on directing it, and he actually asked Tobe Hooper to direct it.
Really?
Before Poltergeist. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. But then obviously the movie didn't happen, and he gave him Poltergeist, and like, yeah.
Interesting.
Cool story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. All right, should we do clip of the month?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, what do we have here?
So this is a clip I came across from Anthony McCullen, special effects, makeup, and prosthetics artist. While we talk Furiosa.
All right.
I thought this was so cool to see. I love special effects. I love seeing stuff like this. I thought she actually cut her hair for the, film, too. But clearly she didn't.
Wow. I totally thought they cut her hair. I didn't know you could do a bald cap that's that good.
Yeah.
Oh, there she goes. What is she reading?
I don't know, her text from me? Liking my posts.
Yep, that's probably it. Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's great though. She's fucking
she was
awesome.
great.
Everything she's in, I'll fucking watch.
Nice. It's surprisingly long for what seems like a simple makeup. I think it was the bald cap though.
Yeah.
Look at that. My God. Because it looks so flat. How do they? I don't know how they hide all that hair.
Yeah. And she had a lot of hair. It's not like her hair was short.
No. Oh wow, that's really surprising. I wonder if Charlize had to cut her hair. If she did, she's probably watching this pissed like I shaved my fucking head.
Where was the budget? Yeah, well, they gave it to her.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good like Halloween costume, I think.
Mm-hmm. I figured while we were on the Furiosa topic, I really did enjoy that movie.
Yeah, it's good.
It was cool to see.
It was really cool. Okay, here's mine. So this account is incredible. This woman makes these incredible puppets. I don't know if she sells them. She might sell them, but the quality of these are stellar. This is one of many examples, but they're just kind of fun to watch. She do these little puppet shows, but the artistry, the craft, when you really look at the details, like the likeness on Sigourney Weaver is great. The details of the xenomorph look really, really, really cool. So this is Handsome Devil Puppets on Instagram, and you just scroll through this account and you see the incredible artistry here, and it's unending.
I've definitely seen her stuff. And yeah, that's
like
so
her Beetlejuice is really awesome, and I would totally buy one of these.
Yeah.
Oh, the Prince is pretty awesome. Yeah, and she knows how to throw some lights up on stuff too. Oh, she does like stop motion. Yeah, this is a pretty incredible artist. Oh yeah, here's what we just saw, but like with cinematic lighting. Oh, I should. There was an AI. Somebody did an AI of what Alien the Musical would look like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find that.
While you pull that up, did you ever see that high school play that came out last year? It went viral.
Oh yeah, the Alien high school play.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
I only saw pictures of it. I didn't see the actual.
Oh yeah.
Oh, let's look that up too. All right, it's officially Alien Day over here. Yeah, and I think they had like a bunch of grandmas working on the costumes and stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I just saw clips. I think I saw some. I think there was video that they posted on it. It was just for what it is. Oh, that's the AI.
Yeah. So this is all done with AI. Is this what Alien the Musical would look like? So insane, right? So insane.
That's cool.
I want to see this.
Oh shit.
It's not exactly a xenomorph, but like, use your imagination. Really cool though.
There's your post of the month.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I actually haven't seen all these. Look at that. Xenomorphs singing about how they're just misunderstood.
I picture the voice, the guy who does Oogie Boogie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's got to be something like that. Real deep.
Oh, yeah. No, I can totally see it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, these look fantastic.
Do you remember Spaceballs?
I actually don't remember that movie very well. I have to rewatch it.
Oh, they spoof the chest burster at the end.
Oh, yeah, and it starts singing like Sinatra songs.
Yeah, like, hello, my baby.
Yeah.
He like kicks off the fucking stage.
Yeah.
This is great, though.
Yeah.
She looks good.
Yeah, really it looks a lot like Sigourney.
Yeah. Mid-journey.
Yeah, man. Okay, cool. Shall we play Blood and Banter?
Blood and Banter.
What is Blood and Banter?
Blood and Banter is a conversation card game. You pull the cards out. They just ask you a bunch of questions. It's for parties. Tagline actually being, make death the life of the party.
Yeah, and I can attest to the fact that these are very fun. When I first got a deck, my wife and I brought them everywhere, played it everywhere. We went through the whole deck in probably like an entire weekend. And yeah, it's a whole lot of fun.
Appreciate that.
You can buy these at
murdermemes.shop.
Murdermemes.shop.
Yes, sir.
Grab yourself a deck today, kids. Okay. What makes a horror movie scary to you?
Anything that can be real, that I could put my myself in that person's shoes. So we talked last episode about like home invasions.
Yep.
And why I don't like them, or at least the way like strangers have been done for me, because they're not realistic. But I like the idea of those movies because that shit that happens all the time. Like,
right.
You know, I think that when it's just like a random, and I think that's one thing about the strangers that I did like in the last one was that they start the movie off with like a fact about like, you know, I don't know, making up a statistic. Like 60% of like crimes are random and unsolved or whatever it was. Like I thought that's like really powerful. I think things like that are scary when, you know, if you think about where you live, your neighbors, when you hear about the fact that like serial killers are the nicest guy, they're the fucking neighbors next door, they're the guy at church that you would never think. Yeah. That kind of stuff. So I think when you can put yourself in a situation where it's like, aside from like demons and possession and even coming from like a religious background, like that stuff like can freak me out and I don't fuck with that stuff. Yeah. Versus like a rando on the street, we see some shit go down in like in New York City where people, you know, like shit just happens, random attacks, like that stuff scares me. So you put a movie like that together where I can actually sit there and be empathetic for the characters and with their moves and just trying to escape and be alive. I think that there's something powerful there of like, you know, without exploiting, you know, like a fucking school shooting, 9/11, like those kinds of things where like that's a whole nother level of stuff where it's like you don't really know, but that's the kind of stuff for me that kind of like gets me.
Gotcha. Cool.
What about you?
I think like formulaically, I need to care about the characters a lot and be like invested in the characters. And then inescapability is really scary, I think. Just that's things cool. That you can't stop. You can't, and things that are just like inevitable. Yeah. I find that really scary where there's just no chance of you fighting back or doing anything. Like Texas Chainsaw has that. Like this is happening and there's nothing you can do. Yeah. Yeah, you'll be overpowered. I think that's terrifying. Yeah.
Well, especially when you got a group of people, you know, and a young girl, you know, to fight for her life and have to escape is pretty scary.
What else? I think relatability too, when it touches on things that are real deep human fears. I mean, most horror movies are explorations of death. It lets us explore death, like what happens when we die and you know, what are we supposed to do while we're here and things like that. Yeah. But I think what like makes it really scary is stuff that's tonally based on reality, like real fears, but brought to life through metaphor that horror, you know, affords us. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's deep.
And prison. I find prison. There's not been a lot of prison horror, but I think that's really scary. Yeah. I think that's a genre that should be explored more.
Well, especially when you hear of like the Russian prisons or these places in like fucking Venezuela or like these places where like these are some really bad people there, and we have our own places here, but like some places that are really like where all the guards are paid, everybody's just like you gotta like I don't know.
It's hell.
That's a whole other world that I hope to never experience. You know what's scary? Let's take that a step further. Being put in jail for something you didn't do.
Oh yeah, that's terrifying. Shawshank Redemption.
That shit happens all the time. And that's really scary.
That is scary.
And think about the people that spend 25 years of their life for something that they did, you know, or you hear like, oh, DNA fucking technology now has now gotten this person out of prison. Yeah. There's what's called the Innocence Project. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's a nonprofit organization, and they basically help people who've been wrongly accused and been convicted who are death row.
Is that the one that Keegan-Michael Key works with?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
He does a lot with wrongfully convicted people.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I've been supporting them for a few years now of just learning and just like, you know, 16-year-old minorities who get pressured into confessing to crimes that they never did.
Oh, man.
Like that kind of shit. Like when you talk like the power and the money behind anybody in like the social justice system, without going on into a preachy thing, like it's really scary of like what can be done and what can be taken away from you if you've never done. It's one thing if you fucking do something, you get all your, you know, shit taken away, and I'm not even talking about like death penalty, but like go to jail for life. Sure, you fucking did some really fucked up shit. Right. But I can't imagine, like that is terrifying to be wrongfully convicted for something you didn't do and be on death row.
Yeah, that is scary.
As a fucking kid, especially.
Really good concept. Because I mean, I feel like the beauty of horror, not to like exploit a horrible situation like that, but horror lets you confront things like that. These horrible social injustices in a way that's very confrontational.
And there's a lot of people that leave prison, and it's like they've been in there for 20 years. And they don't know, like,
they don't know how to integrate back into
technology, all those things too. That for me was more. It was that loss of time for somebody. Like time for me is one of the most important things. Like that you can't get back.
Yeah.
Like I'm very particular about that. Like in time. So imagine losing 20 years of your life, coming back, and like not technology, phones. I've seen people like they're like, everybody's literally just looking down. Everyone's got headphones on. Everyone's like just to acclimate to that world. Like that's a really good call.
Scary.
That's scary shit, man. That's really
man.
scary. And then imagine what they went through those 20 years being in prison. Like Anyway. Next question. Would you rather be turned into a vampire or a werewolf?
Werewolf, easy.
Really? Why is that?
I love the outdoors.
What a great answer.
Yeah. No, I love the outdoors. I like that you can kind of go in and out of different sort of physiological personas, I guess. And to be an animal would be cool, and to hunt and all of that. Well, you still have to hunt as a vampire. I just think werewolves are cooler, and they're more resilient. Like vampires can't go out in the sunshine and all that shit. Like, I want to still be able to go to South Beach. I'm kidding. I don't go to South Beach. No, I want to still be able to, go to the beach and go outside and stuff like that. I don't know. Vampires are such divas too. I think the werewolves are just cooler, a little more. I would be like active.
I would be like a Laszlo from like what
we do in
the Shadows.
Yeah,
he's just so fucking cool.
Yeah, I can see that.
No, but I would say. But I would be a vampire.
Really?
I like the longevity. I don't. So I was going to ask this. I don't know if werewolves, on paper in
let's
do they live forever?
Yeah. Well, I guess we got to go back. What mythology are we talking? When I say, I would want to be a werewolf. I wouldn't want to be American Werewolf in London werewolf, where it's you can't control it, and then you accidentally kill a bunch of people.
And wake up and.
I'd be a Twilight werewolf where you can be like, I'm gonna be a wolf, and then you're a wolf. And you're jacked all the time, and you just walk around without a shirt on.
That's
like
the carnivore diet.
That's the carnivore diet.
There you go.
Yeah, and I guess being a carnivore. I think but you're technically with the vampires just drink blood. You don't see them eat a lot.
Yeah,
they just subsist on blood. They just feed on blood. Yeah. But definitely werewolf.
I like the idea of. So I've said this before. I personally like, as dark as this sounds, I wouldn't want to be here for like the end of the world to experience it, but if I could sit on like a rock and watch the shit go down, I'd really like to see how the end of the world happens.
But wouldn't you end with it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if I could, as a spirit or something, and just like literally, or if I die, obviously it's gonna happen after I pass away.
Right.
If I could like literally sit down with some popcorn and be like, oh shit, like that's how this shit goes down. Like I'd very much like to see how the end of the world happens, just for the sake of like.
Well, vampire would be more likely.
Yeah. So I would chill. I guess the consensus is you'd probably get bored after a while, but think about vampires live a couple hundred years. Like you got to evolve. You got to be part of the society in some way and just kind of like move along with it. But I guess that's kind of scary. It's like if there's no end to it, I understand. But you could always take your life and step into the sun. And
I guess,
call it quits if you're tired of it.
Yeah.
More, but
now I would go werewolf. Yeah, it's just easier. Less complicated. More cool. Yeah. Did you ever see Last Lovers Left Alive?
No.
It's a really good movie. It's a vampire movie. It's really simple. It doesn't operate like any other vampire movie you've ever seen. It's kind of like an indie. It's not a comedy. It's Jim Jarmusch did it. And it's Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton, and they're vampires. Ooh, and they've been around for like hundreds of years. And they're these rock star kind of people, and they travel all over the world, but they're like, he's just getting really bored with being a vampire. And like he's depressed about it and kind of brooding the whole movie.
Makes sense.
It's not a lot happens as far as story, but it's fascinating. I love Tom Hiddleston. I think he's a great actor. And this is before he was Loki ever. And Tilda Swinton is fantastic in it. It's just a really good sort of moody exploration of what it is to be a vampire. Like they talk about how they've seen all these different generations and and he has these existential crisis about society because he has seen the way that society has treated some of the greatest artists and explorers and mathematicians and scientists and how they're all shunned, and he just loses faith in humanity, and you see his existential crisis over centuries.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's just a cool vampire movie.
What's it called?
Last Lovers Left Alive.
I'll watch that. It sounds like it's like a little bit more like deep than it is like a probably
It's got a depth
like
to it.
very like horror, like action, or
Yeah. There's not a big body count, not a lot of gore.
Cool.
Antoine Yelchin is in it too. He's an actor. He was the lead actor in Green Room, who passed away about 5 years ago, very unexpectedly.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Yeah, no, Last Lovers Left Alive is a great movie.
Cool.
Yeah. I guess I'm next. Name a horror villain you hope to never see in your nightmares.
I think the easy one is Freddy Krueger, but
Yeah, that is an easy one.
But I would say probably Candyman.
Yeah,
Yeah, he still scares the shit out of me.
yeah, it's pretty scary.
That's one that like really growing up scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And there was something about like Cabrini Green. I think growing up too, like my family, like a lot of my family was in the projects growing up, like going to visit family, going through the elevators and the stairwells. Like that was scary as a kid.
Yeah,
And we weren't well off, but we were like okay, and we weren't in those situations. But that always resonated with me, with going back to like those places and seeing how they lived. And Candyman just scared the shit out of me, and it was just the last person I wanted to see.
yeah.
Like, yeah, for sure.
Mine's close. Any Cenobite, I wouldn't want to see those motherfuckers.
Because if you see them, that's trouble.
I mean, it's that sort of what I was talking about, inevitability. Like, you can't outrun them because they take over your body and your soul, and their whole idea is just infinite suffering. That is so scary.
Yeah.
That's hell. Like, the dimensions of hell that Clive Barker came up with through the Cenobites is, when you really think about it, is so terrifying. Yeah.
Damn.
I think they're one of the scariest
I
villains.
didn't think about it like that.
Yeah.
When you say infinite suffering, that's
That's what they
terrifying.
do.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Fuck that. I'm good.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm good too.
I'll take Candyman any day at this point.
Hang on. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm getting hot. That we should be all right. Here, Adam.
Does it actually work?
I don't know. Let's find
I
out.
feel like it moves.
All right. So I think that completes the Howl for this month. Adam is going to be in eternal damnation. He's going to have his soul torn apart.
I can feel it moving around.
Uh-oh.
There it is.
Well, thank you as always for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Maybe if I'm still here.
If he's still here.